So James will be finishing off Ulysses where we are today, and I'm going to be serving up our barbecued stuff. It won't be much of a deck dinner talk because we'll just be listening to James reading Ulysses. I'm hoping that we get the Ulysses done by the end of our barbecue season.
Sure. Yeah, we're about a third of the way through. Elijah, skiff, so this is that pamphlet, he calls it a throwaway. Like trumpet throwaway, sailed eastward by flanks of ships and trawlers amid an archipelago of corks, New Wapping Street, past Benson's Ferry, and by the three-masted schooner Rosevine, from Bridgewater with bricks. Almedano Artefoni walked past Hollis Street, past Sewell's Yard. Behind him, Cashel, Boyle, O'Connor, Fitzmaurice, Tisdale Farrell, with stick, umbrella, dust coat dangling, shunned the lamp before Mr. Lawsmith's house, and crossing, walked along Marion Square. Distantly behind him, a blind stripling tapped his way by the wall of College Park. So Farrell is the guy who's a little bit batty, and the blind stripling we've met before several times, at least once. Cashel, Boyle, O'Connor, Fitzmaurice, Tisdale Farrell walked as far as Mr. Lewis Werner's cheerful windows, then turned and strode back along Marion Square, his stick, umbrella, dust coat dangling. At the corner of Wiles he halted, frowned at Elijah's name announced on the Metropolitan Hall, frowned at the distant pleasance of Duke's Lawn. His eyeglass flashed frowning in the sun. With rat's teeth bared, he muttered, "Coactus volui." He strode on for Clare Street, grinding his fierce word. As he strode past Mr. Bloom's dental windows, the sway of his dust coat brushed rudely from its angle, a slender tapping cane, and swept onwards, having buffeted a thewless body. So he kind of semi-runs into the blind guy. The blind stripling turned his sickly face after the striding form. "God's curse on you," he said sourly. "Whoever you are, you're blinder nor I am, you bitches bastard." So that's where we'll leave it.
Bitches bastard, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wouldn't blame him. Some guy walks into a blind person.
So I'm thinking of putting I heated up some what do you call it? Rissam.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of putting it on the cauliflower, but we could put it on the potatoes and the cauliflower. I don't know. What do you think would be good?
I think it'd be both. Cauliflower, it tends to be a little bit mild, and the Rissam is, you're saying,
pretty spicy.
Yeah, so I think it would be great on both.
I'll just dump it on and you can spread it around.
Sure.
I'm gonna get the potatoes and stuff. I gotta get that stuff covered up, or it's
flies.
Blowing. There's one right there.
She said flocking flies.
Yeah. I didn't.
They're flocking around.
I don't like barbecuing.
It's a tough job.
A little bit ornery.
You did a lot of hiking today, as did I, but you did the barbecue.
I gave you one that the fly wasn't on. I'll have to wash this one off.
We walked about 2.5 hours or more today. No more than 3 hours. But it was a pretty healthy walk.
How many mushrooms?
At least 2. I'll take half of it.
Okay.
You got quite a few.
Oh, I have lots.
These are good mushrooms, eh?
Yeah,
when you sliced them up last night, they were awesome.
I made them a little bit dark.
It doesn't. Give me the dark.
Well,
they're all dark?
I think so. You want all of
them? No. You like mushrooms, eh?
Yeah.
So just you eat the part of the mushrooms you like, and I'll eat the dark part.
But yeah, you've actually made me enjoy our barbecue time quite a lot more.
Well, when we can read this stuff.
Bring in Ulysses to
and
the.
Then we got bragging rights and having read.
To the pit. Boy, these are really dark. Sorry.
So yeah, it'll be the last time I go through this particular copy of Ulysses. I've already gone through it twice. This will be the third time it's falling apart. So it's done its duty.
I'm not going to have any of the corn.
Okay.
Because this is the last of the corn. I think it's probably going to be the last we'll have of the season. So I may as well let you have it all.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Well, I know you love it.
I love corn. I think it's a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't really care for it. It's okay.
You
This
prefer
one I
it as
have to wash
popcorn,
off
right?
with the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So that one's gonna, just use this one as a lid. Ugh, tired. You wanted these mushrooms?
They'll be
looking
plenty
that
fine.
good. They're half black.
Yeah.
Well, on the one side anyway. That garlic's nice. The rest of them a little bit charcoal.
No, give me the charcoal ones.
No, I don't think you should eat this.
Well,
This is
I'll
not
crush
food.
them down.
No.
Well, they've got good sides too.
Yeah. That's it.
Garlic will be healthy for me.
Yeah, maybe.
Nobody else.
There. That's covered up. That's good. So we had quite a day.
Very eventful. We saw some birds bathing in a little puddle
That was nice.
in front of the John Martin Center. I'd say it was 4 of them, at least 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess you're right. The other side of the garlic doesn't.
when you tell behind me, I saw a pelican way up in the air, going around in circles. I would have thought it was a hawk, but it was way up there. It was too big. Do pelicans circle around? I don't know what it'd be looking for. It's the same thing I reported seeing a couple of days back over Henderson Lake, only it was about 3 or 4 pelicans way up in the air, big white things. Could barely see them. Oh, they're so far up.
Yeah, but they're huge. You're right. They must be high.
And then today I saw, but you didn't see, you didn't even hear it. It was so amazing. Only wasn't that far behind. I scared a deer.
Oh, yeah.
But it was kind of, we were down in a little, I wouldn't call it a draw, it's a dry channel of the river down by south of Lafarge. And technically speaking, it's west of Lafarge. But it was above me when it started. And I'm looking up and I'm saying, what's a kangaroo? It was jumping so high. What's a kangaroo doing?
Yeah.
Southern Alberta. And then I realized it was, I guess, a white-tailed deer.
Yeah, it's amazing. You get out there, you don't have to get far away from urban areas.
Yep.
Or, manicured parks. And then all of a sudden you see the real world for a while.
What else?
There's that much of it left.
We saw one lonely Canada goose who's flying north along the Oman River. I, at least, was feeling sorry for him. I might have been too. But it turns out he was heading for half dozen. He was honking. I was going, who's he honking at? But he was honking. Yep, he was coming in and said, hey, buddies, here I come. You thought you lost me. Very cute. And they were paddling around, looking a bit like ducks in the Oman River. A long ways away, they look quite small. What else? Oh, I was way ahead of you. Remember yesterday we saw one of those worms or caterpillars, right? And he was doing not so well. I saw one going across the walk. I was going to wait for you, but I realized that he was going so fast that he'd be well lost in the weeds by the time you came up, and you were within sight. You know?
I didn't know that Martin Luther King had done such.
They cheated on his wife like a chimp.
Yeah.
It's like Bill Clinton, what a moron. But you know, I believe in the principles. You know, he's a follower of Gandhi. Gandhi was a follower of Tolstoy that believed in non-violent. And I think it was a guy called, what was his name? He's a guy killed by Hitler. Well, not directly, but
Sure.
There's a theologian. Here's what he said. When you're dealing with Winston Churchill or whomever, the methods of Gandhi. When you're dealing with Hitler, it's another thing. So my pacifism is conditioned. You know, if you're dealing with someone like Hitler, you don't have any choice.
Yeah.
He would just kill and kill and kill. Hitler knew Gandhi, or knew about him rather. And all he said, apparently,
Yeah,
was...
I don't think he knew him.
Thank heaven.
Yeah, because
Well,
otherwise
he
Gandhi
said,
wouldn't have been
if he was
well.
Winston Churchill or whomever, Gandhi would just disappear and no one would ever know where he went. It's that simple. Where's the Brits let him do his SALT demonstrations and things like that? You can tell when something's a democracy. Semi-democracy, at least, they let people do demonstrations.
Yeah.
Yes, that even applies to Trump-led or misled America. It's still kind of like a democracy. When there are demonstrations in non-democracy, they either get crushed, as in Tiananmen Square, or it's like the demonstrations at the end of communism. Yeah? Just everyone stops. Everything stops. And the flunkies, the dingbats who are running things into the ground, not just running things, you just have to give up.
Yeah.
Those are the only demonstrations I believe in. The general strike against dictatorship. If you try to general strike against a democracy, you're only going to get worse. And that's what communists believed in. General strike. That's what they've been working for ever since. We'll have a general strike and bring down this fake democracy.
Yeah. Replace it with a dictatorship.
Yeah, that's right.
a great idea.
Yeah. Brilliant.
No, it's funny, like, I'm thinking about various university elite that I've talked to in my life. And, I mean, I'm not saying that everyone at the university is like this.
Well, I've run across some wonderful professors.
Yeah,
I've mentioned them.
excellent.
You know, people have been so generous with their time. One guy tutored me for free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't last for that long because I fell out of remission, but wow.
So I'm not saying down with school. No. Up with school. Lots of education. Yay.
Yep.
And educated, it's better. I've had. I'm not saying that every. Yep.
Okay.
I'm not saying that every uneducated person is not worth talking to, but.
Everyone is worth talking to once.
Yeah.
The sequel to that sometimes ain't worth it. But
anyway, I was thinking about talking to some of the humanities yellows.
Yeah.
And I mean, there can be red yellows in those bunches too.
Oh, yeah.
They're scary. But
Yes,
anyway,
I can think of one in philosophy in particular. I'm not going to mention the name, but red, yellow. Yeah.
Anyway, and
Very dangerous person.
yes, the red yellows are
Yep.
very dangerous. But yellows are also aggressive.
Yep.
And there's a
this
lot of
guy's
them in the
very
humanities,
aggressive.
a lot of them in the art world.
Yep.
And well, what they call themselves artists. Anyway,
Well, you know, like there's a certain degree of art in the way they present themselves as artists.
they,
You know.
yes, they are
Yeah.
very good at marketing themselves.
Yeah, I'd call it more artifice than art, but
Sure.
what the heck?
But I was thinking about how, like, when occasionally you will get one of them say democracy doesn't work.
Okay, I hear them constantly saying that, but go on.
Well, not all of them are that.
No.
But the thing is like one woman in particular that I'm thinking about, she had decided to become Muslim.
Holy smokes, I don't know about this story, but go on. Wow, okay.
And she didn't know. She really didn't know
Squat about the whole thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not unusual. And this is for any variety of belief
No, a lot
systems.
of people who, they decide, I want to be
the other
a
thing.
part of a club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be a part of whatever religion. It seems to be cool to them.
Or belief system, right?
And they don't know anything about it. And, hit the books.
Please
before
do it.
you decide. Honestly.
This is if you decide to be a communist or a capitalist,
let's say you
or
decide to quit all of a sudden.
Christian.
You don't want to. All of a sudden, Islam doesn't look so rosy to you, and then.
If it does, it does. The deal is, don't lay your trip on me unless you know what the trip is.
But I've heard a lot of people. It's interesting. So I was thinking of her, and I was thinking, well, if she were living in a society where that was the dominant belief system, and she would not be in the position that she's in, and
I don't think so.
She wouldn't be able to communicate with me, probably.
Not without her. At least in the more traditional ones.
With some supervision?
And that would be adult, male relative supervision. So the places that have that, strictly speaking, are not. I think the Sudan's that way, Iran's that way.
I'm not saying
Saudi
that Canada
Arabia
is totally faultless or anything like that.
Oh, it's got huge faults.
But seriously, globally.
Canada's for women. It's I don't know if it gets much better. Maybe Scandinavia. For a while.
Or there's a lot of
improvement to do, but yeah. What were you going to say?
There's a lot of people who they take up yoga and this and that, and I mean I love. A lot of things about Ayurvedic medicine. I've read a lot of it. Makes sense to me.
It's interesting.
And
at the very least, yeah.
I enjoy doing qigong when I choose to do it. Very much lately, but anyway, I've been doing hiking, which is whatever. Better. And I don't. I'm glad that I have gotten that the information has been available to me, but I realize that there are things that I like about all sorts of different cultures, and
this is true.
Things that I don't like about all sorts of different cultures.
The Hindu culture we've been maybe a little critical of, but you're a vegetarian. With tendencies towards veganism.
This isn't a very healthy
I'm a
meal
pisco
today.
vegetarian. I really respect vegetarianism. I really do. And Indian history. In the Puranas, given short shrift, I'd say it's hard to think of it as continuous.
But the caste system.
Well, that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
And there's a lot of Caucasian people from Canada or elsewhere who actually think that somehow they'd be treated like a Brahmin or something. They love and
doesn't work out that way.
No.
You would be
I don't know, an outcast? There might be some people who might. I mean, I don't know what George Harrison's guru thought of George Harrison. I mean, the guru, I suspect, was a Brahmin. And, what was his name? Bhaktivedanta, something like that. Swami. He styled himself Swami. But strictly speaking, I don't think Harrison would cut it. Same thing with the Maharishi, who started off as the Beatles guru. I don't know what he would have thought of these guys that he was ripping off for money. It wasn't just the Beatles, it was Mia Farrow and her sister Prudence. And yes, Dear Prudence was written for Mia Farrow's sister.
Well, she was probably quite a looker, eh?
Hard to say. I don't know. Never seen a picture of her.
Yeah, Farrow was.
Yeah, she was. Might still be. She's held her years well. But Mike Love, or as I call him, Mike Haight, of the Beach Boys, was an acolyte. Who else? Donovan, of Mellow Yellow and Hurdy Gurdy Man fame, was there at the same time the Beatles were. Maybe a few others. Anyway, I don't know what the Maharishi thought of it. I think he just saw dollar bills. Anyway.
Well, this isn't my most successful barbecue.
I'm not going to pretty good.
But
It's very good. Anyway, if you choose a belief system, please make it a real choice. Don't just drift into it. So I've run into...
There's a lot of people who they were born into a religion almost, or whatever. Or maybe...
No, the thing that gets me is people that drift into it.
Yeah, maybe they accepted the faith when they were young, but too young. Like, if you're, honestly, if you're choosing a faith before age 25, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah, you're saying that.
Yet,
yeah. There's, but you know, like.
I also don't think you should be doing things like playing football.
No way. Until afterwards. Ever really. But when you're doing that before then, particularly before 18, you know, like you're bashing up your brains and
honestly,
losing parts
it should
of
be
your...
considered child abuse. Like, and I won't be popular for saying that. But
well, that's the way it goes. Like same thing with full body contact, at least before age 18.
It was like that Boston legal episode
hockey
we were talking about. And the issue was the mother didn't want the son being a bullfighter.
Wow, that one was something else, yep.
Yeah. And
we mentioned that earlier today, but we might not have got it on camera.
No, we might not have got around to it.
So
anyway.
well, we did get around to it, but it might not have made it to camera. So you should talk about that. It's a big issue.
It is a big issue.
Boston Legal, that's what they're best at.
I mean, their standpoint really was the mother didn't want the son, the father did, though.
To be doing bullfighting.
Yeah. And the thing is kids will do all sorts of things to try to please their parents. If a boy looks up to his father, wants his father to be proud of him or whatever, he'll do all sorts of kind of... And I don't know, I mean, training for doing one thing when you're young, safely, in a safe manner, I think that's fine. You can do a lot of training, like you've talked about with sports, just mentally visualizing certain plays and whatever.
They find it's almost as good as actually getting out there.
So it could
shooting
be
hoops,
that
just visualizing
the
shooting.
practice, the training for football, the training for sports that are known to be dangerous to people's bodies. Maybe the training just has to change so that a person is then fully trained in a different way, once they get to be 25, then they can go,
They can do the rough stuff.
they can do whatever, yeah. They can choose for themselves and say, okay, well, I really like training for football and I want to see what, if I can really pull it off now as a sport. Doing the real thing. Whatever. I don't know. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I know. The big problem is, you've got guys going to the NBA at age 18 out of high school, right?
I know.
And,
but I think that it just has to change. I realize that people have a limited shelf life when it comes to sports.
This is true.
But for dangerous sort of sports, things that hurt a person's body, well, maybe the shelf life wouldn't, you just put that over 5 years or whatever. If people don't have, aren't getting injured before age 25, then they're going to last longer, right? So then they might be able to play the sports until age 40 instead of age 30.
That would be the more premier ones. The flunkies wouldn't even make it to 30.
Yeah.
I think in football, the average stay might be 2 years. There are lots of flunkies doing stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, why not try it out? Because honestly, it's abusing children. And if you're under the age of 25, you're actually a child. You're not an adult. And, I mean, you're a dangerous little thing because you're adult size. And that's the most aggressive part of your life is between 15 and 25. So, and you're full size, but your brain
not
is
fully developed.
So, dangerous, yes. But I mean, the potential for people being even more dangerous after age 25 is there if they've injured their brains. So don't be injuring people's brains before age 25 because they might just, I mean,
Apparently, if they mess up, the prefrontal cortex or something like that, their decision making
well, you
goes
can't
down.
plan for the future and
No.
stuff like that, right? So the consequences of actions are going to be a little bit hard to judge if you don't have the prefrontal cortex working for you.
So people get into what's looking as though it's going to be a bar brawl. They just get in the bar brawl.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, no, is this really worth it? Is this hip-hop trip really worth it?
Yeah. Anyway. Thanks for the talk. Thanks for the reading of Ulysses again.
Yeah.
I think you did most of it today.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
You did by far the most.
Okay.